All right, everybody, welcome in. Very special video today. We're not in our usual Austin, Texas area. We are in the Lehigh Valley of Pennsylvania, my old stomping grounds. We're currently going to drive from Breiningsville, which is the Allentown area, to Bethlehem. Allentown area, Breiningsville is where my wife is from originally. And Bethlehem is where I used to live for almost 20 years. It's where I went to high school. It's where I lived after I graduated college. And for today's video, we're gonna take a drive from Breiningsville to the steel stacks in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. Fun fact, the steel stacks are an old steel mill back from the World War II days. Bethlehem Steel used to be the largest manufacturer of steel in the world back in the day. And we're currently in full self-driving, and I'm letting the car drive itself. We're on version 11.4.4. And if you watch this channel, you know that I like to do these self-driving test videos from time to time to see how the car performs and all that good stuff. So for today's video, what I'm gonna do is really monitor and see how the car performs in a new area that I'm not used to. So usually when I'm letting the car drive itself in full self-driving, we're in Austin, Texas. And so I'm very familiar with that area. But with this one, I haven't been, we only come to town once a year now-ish. And so I still know these parts really well, but really I haven't driven FSD beta around these parts, I think, ever. I may have used it a little bit last year while I had one of the earlier builds, but I don't believe I really had it on much during that time because its performance wasn't nearly as good as it is now. And as of late, FSD has been performing really well. So I'm very curious to see how it does around these parts. Right now we're going to jump on Route 222 going north. Route 100 going north, and this will take us to Route 78, and we'll probably take that east to I think it's going to be either I wonder, maybe 309. I forget which route will take us closer to Bethlehem. Probably not 309. Anyway, we'll see. I forget the routes from time to time, but we'll be on 78 east. We'll go over to Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, and then we'll end up at the steel stack. So for those that are not familiar with full self-driving and how it works, so I'm 100% in control of the car. It's my responsibility. However, when I have the software enabled, the car will steer, will make decisions, will accelerate, will brake, will speed up and slow down above the legal limits, quote unquote, on my command. So right now the speed limit is 45, traffic is going significantly faster, so I'm going to notch it up to 55, which is where the rest of the traffic is going, and then we're just going to let the car do its thing on this road. So yeah, curious to see how this car does. The one interesting thing is, as we hit a yellow light here and the car stops really nicely, is that obviously to land here we've had to drive. We've had to drive our car. So this is the same car we've always used. It's our Model Y Performance, and we've driven it almost 1,700 miles. I forget exactly what the mile count is from Austin, Texas, as I swipe away that notification here while it was stopped. From Austin, Texas to Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania, the Lehigh Valley area, it's 2 days worth of driving. And each day we were on the road, probably, let me see, so the first day we started at 9 a.m. Central, and we ended up in Nashville, Tennessee around midnight Central as well. So you do that math, that's whatever, 15 hours or so on the road, if that's correct. Correct me if I'm wrong. And on the second day, we left at around 9 a.m. again, and we ended up at my parents-in-law's house at 12:30 Eastern. So that was about 13 and a half hour drive, or a 14 and a half hour drive rather. So yeah, so you add those two up, we're on the road for almost 30 hours between the 2 days. And so that includes the driving time, obviously, but it also includes charging. And I'm going to be doing a separate video chronicling my what will be over 3,000 miles driven from Texas to Pennsylvania and back. And some very interesting things sort of came up from that drive. That's our 4th or 5th drive that we've done up to this point. And with different cars. The first time we did it in a Tesla Model S 75D. And then every time after that, we've done it in this Tesla Model Y Performance. And one of the big things that I realized, and I'll talk about that in my full video as well in more detail, the addition of superchargers every year that Tesla has been going through has been such a big help in shortening the time we spend on the road, because the superchargers now are much more evenly spaced. So it's not just, hey, I'm on the road for 3 hours, like a 3-hour leg, and then I got to charge to say 90% to make it to the next one. Because the superchargers are more evenly spaced and they're not as far away from each other, it's much easier to go from, say, 5% battery to 60% battery and do about a 2.5 leg, call it, and then end up at the next supercharger. And so that is helpful, because with an electric vehicle, the fastest charge comes from the lowest amount in the battery. So going from 0% to 50% is like 5 times faster, probably even more, than going from 50% to 100%. And that's a big deal. So that keeps us on the road more often, and we don't have to really wait and charge. And the charging, because now almost all of the chargers that we stopped at were 250 kilowatt hours, or kilowatts of power from the superchargers, the speed of charge is also much faster as well. So that's been just a double whammy of improvements from our charging experience with this car. So big props to the Tesla team for building out the supercharger network, especially between Texas and Pennsylvania. It really has made a difference, and we really have been enjoying it quite a bit. Now, another thing that I'm going to be looking out for when we're driving around this area is the driving habits and how people drive in Pennsylvania is different than Texas. Oh, somebody's saying, hold on, somebody wants to say hi. What's up?
Why you got the GoPro?
Oh, it's driving itself.
What?
It's a self-driving Tesla, so I'm like recording the video.
GoPro,
Yeah, I'm just recording. I'm watching. So it's what I do YouTube videos, and then I show how the car drives itself in different areas. Yeah, it's pretty fun. It's a good time.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I thought she was gassing people or something.
Oh, no, not at all. No. I mean, I could, but I'm not going to do that in this video.
I know you could.
Yeah. Awesome, man. All right, take it easy, brother. All right, man. Yeah. That's funny. The guy's like, why do you have a GoPro on your thing? He's like, I thought you were gapping people. I'm like, yeah, I could, but I'm not. Beat him at the light and stuff. Yeah, so the driving habits around, that's hilarious. I hope that caught well in camera. I'll try to boost the volume so you guys could hear what he was saying. Yeah, the driving habits in PA are very different. So in Texas, you have usually what ends up happening is you have a environment where folks love to ride the left lane in Texas, especially in highways. They just kind of hang out on the left lane. This is my lane. I pay taxes. I don't care. I'm going at the speed limit. Why should you be going faster than the speed limit? I'm in the left lane. Pass me on the right lane. And I feel like the car has learned that habit. The car has learned that habit, which is obviously not correct. You should only be passing on the left lane. So I'll give you a perfect example. So right now, here in Pennsylvania, people still ride the left lane, but not nearly as much as they would in the right lane. So like the person in front of me, the Subaru, for example, they're on the left lane, but they're moving to the right lane. And I'm guessing it's because they're not, going fast enough. And we have to go to the right lane for the highway. So the car made the transition to the right lane perfectly. But there's also another dynamic that happens in Pennsylvania is that people do tailgate a lot more than in Texas. Texas, there's not really a lot of tailgating. People give you space quite often. You very rarely have people just riding your ass. Whereas in Pennsylvania, it's getting tailgated is very common. And I think a lot of that is because of, that's how a lot of New Jersey and New Yorkers drive, and a lot of people from Pennsylvania work in those areas. So they're kind of, they've taken the habits from those states and they've brought them over to Pennsylvania, as well as people, that's just how they drive. So, and from time to time, if you do see the screen turning the colors, what that means is that it's at the top, it's got a little blue color. What that means is that it's asking for my attention. And so the way I give it attention is by just nudging the steering wheel a little bit, in case you're not familiar. So I'm curious to see how that dynamic influences the car here. I'm going to try my best not to have any inputs in the car. So far, I believe I've done nothing. If I think back to the drive, the car's just doing everything itself. And yeah, we'll see how it behaves. Well, that's obviously was a little bit of like town city situation. Here we got a little bit of a merge to the right lane, which it did very awkwardly. I would have at least turned on my blinker, and it didn't do that. So not the best transition, but did so safely. And we'll also see how it behaves a little bit in the city as we get into the steel stacks. And then you'll also get to see the steel stacks once we get there. So hopefully we get some good footage from this video. And I think we will. Another thing that's really interesting about having a self-driving car, or a car that can drive itself, I don't know what to call this, right? Do I have a self-driving car, or do I have a car that can drive itself? Tell me in the comments what you think I should call this car. But we paid money to buy the car. I didn't actually pay anything to get the software added to my car, because at the time that I bought the car, I was a Tesla employee, and Tesla for employees, I don't know if they still do this, but they give you the software for free if you choose to add it to your car. So it was basically a perk of working at the companies. You get full self-driving for free. I'm gonna go 65 to see if I can, I'm probably gonna pass this tractor trailer on the right on this uphill. Usually a lot of trailers slow down a lot on this uphill as we get to the crest of the top there. But I got the software for free. Typically you would have to pay, what is it, $15,000 now, or $200 a month. But I would have paid a one-time fee, and then that works in Austin, that works in San Antonio, that works in Dallas, that works in Houston, that also works in Arkansas, that works in Tennessee, that works in Virginia, it works in Pennsylvania, right? So I don't really have to do any additional add-ons to my software. I buy the software once, and now this thing can drive anywhere, freaking anywhere in the United States. Which a lot of Americans would say, well, that's the only place there is, Anyway, that's a terrible joke. So my point there is, if you compare that dynamic to, say, a Cruise or a Waymo, or any other company that's attempting to solve self-driving, how they solve it is very limited to the areas that they're offering the service. So you can't take a Cruise car. Like, if you were to take a Cruise car and put it on a flatbed and move it to Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, as an example, and drop it in the streets and try to make it work, it would not work, because it doesn't know how to behave in that area, because they haven't mapped out the town, they haven't mapped out the lanes, they haven't mapped out the traffic work zones, they haven't mapped out all the traffic lights and the stop signs and the crosswalks and all that stuff. Whereas this car requires no planning from that perspective. It doesn't require any work whatsoever as it pertains to prepping it for an area. You just plop it literally in the region like we've done here, and you turn on the software, and then the car can just look around and then be like, okay, I'm supposed to be in this lane, and then I need to be to this lane, and then I have to make a left here, and oh, that's a traffic light, because I can see it's a traffic light. I don't need a map to tell me it's a traffic light, right? And the game-changing nature of that thing is that I have a car that can drive me anywhere in the United States. It really, truly can. There are pockets that it's like, does something weird, or it does something like unpleasant, or it does something that I wouldn't do that's not necessarily bad, but because I'm in the driver's seat, I'm like, I would have done this differently, right? So like here, I'm like, I would have been in the left lane already, right, passing this truck. But this car's like, okay, I'm going to take a little bit longer. And then now it aborted it because the guy in the left behind me is going faster than I was. So now it's got to slow down even further. So now if it wants to get in the left lane, it's got to go even faster, right? So it's like these little things that I'm like, I wouldn't have done that. But the car did it, and it did it safely. And so it's interesting watching this in different areas as well, because that's kind of how it would have behaved in Austin. But one thing I'm realizing, I'm going to kick this up to 70 because everyone's just flying. That's another thing about this area, is that speed limits are suggestions. Yeah, you know, the road is 55, but like, for example, you can't see this right now behind me, but this guy, I'm going 70, and this guy behind me is going significantly faster than 70, and he needs to exit on the right. Yeah, so, or she needs to exit on the right, whatever. Yeah, but it is what it is. I mean, I can't help that. That's just, you know, it's not my fault everybody drives 20 miles over the speed limit here. So that opens up a host of different questions, right? So what happens in areas, as we have a blown tire here on the right, the car, I think it may have, I don't know, it seemed like it actually nudged itself over to the right a little bit, or to the left, to avoid that debris, but I could be wrong. It's going to be very interesting to see how people adopt this technology in different regions. I'll be taking this car to New York City on Friday, to Manhattan, and Queens as well. We're going to be in Queens and Manhattan for a little bit, for the day, and I want to get some footage of the car driving in that area as well. Again, a car that I purchased in Texas, in Austin, that I've been self-driving in Austin, Texas, that we're not going to be taking to Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, Allentown, Pennsylvania, and also New York City. And I'm curious to see how this car behaves in the city. My gut tells me is that in the current version, the car is not nearly assertive enough to drive like a New York driver, because if you've never visited that area, New York is a challenging driving environment. Now, the leader of the AI division at Tesla, Ashok, has said that the goal is to get this car to drive in rush hour traffic in, I believe, New Delhi, India, or one of the metro areas in India. And I don't know if you've seen videos of traffic in India, but my God, it looks, whoo, if you thought New York was bad. That part of the world is looking real wild. So if the goal is to get the Tesla to be able to navigate that type of environment, then New York City is going to be a piece of cake for it, obviously. But the march to get there is going to be fascinating to watch. Another thing that I'm realizing as I'm driving this car in this area is that I think my, how do I say this? My willingness to be critical about nitpicky things, like small things, is not nearly as large here. So I'm more lenient because I don't drive these roads every day anymore. I used to. So like, you know, I forget some parts and I'm like, oh, I would have taken this way or whatever. There are habits you build as a human, whereas the computer, the AI, is just going to treat everything completely equal and fairly and with zero emotion and ego, right? And what I noticed, as a little rock flew into our windshield, but nothing happened, thankfully. What I've noticed is that if I'm in an area that I'm not as familiar with, I'm 100% okay with the hesitancy that the car has in some respects, in some situations, because I'm hesitant as well. I'm like looking around, you know, I think this is right. And you know, my pace of driving is slower. I'm more tentative. 412. I was going to say 512 before. It's 412. Tentative. And so I don't really mind the car driving like that in this new area. But if it was doing, you know, if it does that in Austin, in an area that I'm very familiar with, I feel myself getting a little frustrated with the car because I would have done that road 1,000 times over, and I'm like, come on, I can't, no one's coming, just make the right, make the left, right? And so this human equation, like this emotion equation, this ego equation comes into play with this software, you know, whereas it usually just it handles everything equally, but once it's introduced in an area that I'm familiar with, I get upset. And I feel like that's not really fair to the system, you know? And so I'm wondering if this will calibrate my expectations a little bit more. So here, I'm gonna push the car to the right lane because our exit's coming up. I have some cars in front of me. This guy behind me wants to pass me. So I'm gonna push the car to the right lane. It's like, this is an example where I don't think this is really my ego that wants the car to do something different. I think given where we are on the road, exit's coming up in half a mile, I'm in the left lane, there's a guy behind me trying to pass me, the right lane's wide open, I got 4 cars in front of me that are probably going to make it difficult for me to go to the right lane. I expected the car to make that maneuver for me because I think it's a very reasonable thing for the car to do, and it builds a lot of confidence and comfort, but the car was just taking too long to do that. So then, like that situation, I would say the car didn't behave the way I would want it to. It wasn't unsafe. It wasn't bad per se. Although it was riding the left lane, so that's kind of bad. But it's these little things that are going to be interesting to watch sort of evolve as the adoption rate continues. Hope that makes sense. Let me make sure my camera's still on the roof. It is. Fantastic. So now we're in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. We're on the border with Easton, Pennsylvania, and we are going to drive to the steel stack. So we got a right yield here. I believe it should be able to just right this lane forward. So like this slowdown doesn't make any sense to me. You have a lane to yourself. So this was slow, safe, but very slow. Yeah. Again, nothing wrong. There's no one around. The car's driving real nice and slow, but that's not how I would do it. I think that if I was in the passenger seat and there was no one in the driver's seat and it was the car driving it, 99% of my issues with full self-driving, I think wouldn't really be issues. Because I would have I wouldn't have any ability to do anything from an input perspective. I wouldn't be able to control the car. And so I think what I'm really starting to land on when it comes to the adoption of this technology is that, we're getting really close to this car on the left here. Okay. So I touched the wheel, but I didn't really do any inputs. If I would have done an input, the steering wheel would have gone away from the blue there. And it would have turned off. So I really think the thing that's going to help this car be adopted, this technology to be adopted, is that once people are not able to do an input in the car, and the cost of riding in this car goes down significantly. So like, let's say it goes down to, if you were going to pay an Uber $60 to go down to the airport, you pay $20 to go down to the airport for literally the same exact distance and time. Then I think those little nitpicky things that might tell people, oh, this thing's not going to be ready, where in reality, they're just nitpicky things and the car's still going to get you from point A to point B. It doesn't really matter, truly. It's just preference. Those are going to be way easier to absorb as a paying customer. And as long as you're on your freaking phone as a passenger, and you're not really even aware of what's going on around you, why would those little things even matter? So I think that's going to help this technology be adopted a lot faster than people think. I truly think so. Yeah. And you can see thus far, again, we're about 5 minutes away from our location. We left Breiningsville in Allentown area. We drove to Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. I haven't lived here in 3 years. I don't frequent these streets at all. I'm actually driving by where I used to live back in the day. And the car's driving itself. I haven't done anything. That's very weird. Okay, so here it veered to the left a little bit, and I think it was to create some space with it and the semi-truck on our right. So here, the road's going to veer to the right. This lane's okay. So as long as we stay in this lane, in this middle lane now, we'll be able to make a right. So let's see how it negotiates this right turn. So we have the tractor trailer. So it's slowing down. We have a right turning rate on the... See, like, this is... I wouldn't have done that, right? It slowed down at the light. I wouldn't have done that. So... But again, nobody was behind me. Preference. Was it unsafe? I don't think so. Nobody was behind me. It's interesting. It's just interesting watching these little smoothness things, like these little smooth things that the car right now is still struggling with, but it completes the maneuvers no problem. It really does. In front of you, in the distance, I don't know if you can see it. We'll get a lot closer to it here as we drive along. You have the steel stacks. People seem to love the GoPro here. You have the steel stacks up front, which is the place where Bethlehem Steel used to make a lot of its steel in during World War II era. Again, the largest manufacturer of steel in the world back in the day, and obviously mostly because of World War II. They used a lot of the steel for weapons and, you know, tanks and stuff. Very proud city. On the right, there's also a casino, Wind Creek. It used to be the Sands, Wind Creek Casino. They refurbished one of the cranes into the big sign. And one of the things about this area is that super proud, very proud people, a lot of blue-collar workers, a lot of former Bethlehem Steel families are from this area. And there's been this big boost in this big growth of logistics companies coming to town, you know, warehouses, transportation, stuff like that. So the economy is doing okay. It's actually doing okay, but it's not what it used to be. It wasn't manufacturing. Now it's more like transportation and logistics. So, but yeah, shout out to everybody in Bethlehem. 610-484, represent. We got a motorcyclist on the right, which we navigate really well around. Perfect. And then up here at the light, we're also going to make a right, and then we'll be at our destination. Yeah, shout out to my old stomping grounds, man. It's really good to see this area again. Yeah, come back once a year, and it's just it's a treat. It's a treat to come back to Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, and say hello once in a while. So we're going to make a right, and then we're going to be basically at our destination. You'll be able to see the stacks in their full glory right in front of you. There you go. Now I'm curious to see how far this is going to take me. So it's going to take us all the way up, so you really get an up close and personal look at the stacks. And hopefully they show real nice. And we have a stop sign up there, and that's where I'll probably turn off the full self-driving and call it a day. Right here. Okay. Okay. A little bit of an abrupt stop, but here, for a little bonus content, I'm going to go ahead and turn this off since we're at a location. I'll just drive it around a little bit so you can kind of see what this place looks like. They sort of made, you know, they have bars and stuff out there. Right now it's a Tuesday. On the left there, you can see the Nittany Lion, Penn State Nittany Lion there on the left, chilling on the thing. I believe one of the stores here sells the creamery ice cream, which if you haven't had creamery ice cream from Penn State, what are you doing with your life? It's the best ice cream in the world. Don't ask me, ask everybody. And yeah, so you can kind of see the buildings on the right there. What used to be the, you know, where they did all the steel and stuff on the left as well. You can kind of see some of the old buildings. That new building in front of you towards the left is the hotel for the casino. And you know what? I'm gonna type in Wind Creek, and we're gonna go there. We'll do a little extended here for the folks that are Wind Creek, Bethlehem. Yeah, let's see if it takes us there. It might actually take us the back way. All right, so I'm curious to see what it does here. Just a little test. So it's mapped to go, yeah, so now it's going to go the other way. So it's going to go the casino way. Okay, so now, okay, so that was a mistake. That was a mistake. We saw that, right? So it went through the incorrect entrance. It should have gone through the right entrance, not the left entrance. And it's okay. Going to go around the parking lot doesn't make any sense. It should have just made a right there, but it's okay. That's just navigation and navigated. But that there was a little weird. Now there was a barricade on the right, and I think it saw the barricade and it just assumed. And here it stopped, but it shouldn't have because it's just forward. It's just straight. Yeah. So that was a little confusing, but it should have just kept on the right side. So more of the building there in front of us. Here we got a little right turn roundabout, weird looking thing. Yeah, roundabout. So it's going to go right. It's going to go another right here. Very good. And it should be going straight. So, okay, the mapping needs to be updated because it's showing a roundabout and there isn't one. And it's turning the right turning lane on, but it shouldn't be. And I think it's because it saw the roundabout. So, yeah. So I think the mapping just needs to be updated for this area, and that's probably why it was confused earlier on. So we're kind of navigating a little bit of a promenade area. On the left is the casino, and you also have the stores and whatnot. Here we're going to have a roundabout. We're just going to make a right here, and then we're going to come up to a light up here, and then we're going to make a left, and then we're going to go down. I'll take you guys down Stefco Boulevard on the bridge, so you can kind of see the bridge as well. But this is probably going to take us to the actual casino. So let me see. Let me put in. Let me end this, and I'm just going to say, navigate to Stefco Boulevard. Let me see if it takes us over the bridge. Yes, it does. Okay, perfect. So that you'll actually see the Sands crane over there. So yeah, little extended look here at Bethlehem. Again, proud town, great people. Shout out Liberty High School, Grenadier Band. I played clarinet there. And yeah, lots of awesome memories there with a lot of cool, really cool people. And yeah, shout out Penn State. Went to Penn State, Lehigh Valley for my first 2 years. I used to go there when it used to be in Fogelsville. They moved the campus from Fogelsville over to Center Valley. I forget. I think it is. It's like they moved it closer to this area. And after I was there for 2 years, I went to the main campus, Penn State University Park at State College. So yeah, a lot of great memories. In front of you, we're gonna get on the left lane here, and then we're gonna make a left on the bridge, onto the bridge, and right, that big crane looking thing, it almost looks like a bridge, but it's really a crane. That's where the Wind Creek logo is. That used to be the Sands logo. And so that's original equipment that they use for steel manufacturing and transportation and stuff like that. So real cool. Then we got a median here that we have to navigate around, which it does perfectly. That was a phenomenally good left turn. And then, yeah, on the left, you have the casino, hotel, you have the steel stacks. I don't know if you can see them anymore. And then on the right, you have the casino, and this is Stefco Boulevard Bridge. So we're going to end it right here, and then I'm going to stop in and say hi to my parents for a little bit, and then swing back to my parents-in-law, and then go back to my parents later this week. So thank you so much for watching. Really love you guys. Like the video if you enjoyed it. Turn off full self-driving here. And yeah, we'll see you guys in a little bit. If you want to support the channel, links in the description below for merch and athletic greens, free travel packs, and vitamin D with your purchase if you support me there. Love you guys. Bye-bye.